Baby, where are we?
Mario is applying surreal skin on my face.
How does that feel?
I am just remembering the first swatch, and look where we've come.
Look where we've
How
come.
it started.
Look where I brought you.
Look where you brought me.
18 months later, right?
Yeah, literally.
So wild. Our first viral video.
Our first viral video, really our first viral, the birth of our virality and just the beginning of something great and amazing.
The birth of the Lipstick Lesbians.
Mm-hmm.
I think the fact that you were just so chill and low key, like did you have a hat on or something?
I do. You don't understand.
That made it so much more.
I know,
cool
I
because
know.
It was so real.
So baby, who we with?
We're with the legend himself.
Aww, love this.
We are at the Makeup by Mario headquarters, and I am actually standing here live with Mario. It's literally as surreal as his surreal skin.
Aww.
And it is as wild for me that I'm here and that we're all gonna get to be here together today. We're gonna share some beautiful energy.
Yes.
We wanna connect with you all on the other side of that camera through probably our favorite modality of healing, which is makeup. And the fact that I get to have this healer's hands on my face today is a really, really special moment for me. So I'm just gonna take that in.
I love that you said that. I never used to look at my hands as that, but they kind of are.
Oh yeah.
I'm so excited for you to finally be here. This legend and this pioneer really, I think, started this whole trend of product developers being in front of the camera and educating. I think it was so necessary for our community and our industry.
Also, Alexis never gets her makeup done.
For my wedding, we went right up to your gondola in Sephora because I wanted to look like an iced out Greek goddess, so we got the Master Metallics.
Wait, that's so funny you just said Greek goddess because I was talking to my PD team. They said, "What look are you gonna do?" And I was like, "I'm feeling bronze Greek goddess."
You nailed it.
I think it's so important that people really understand that this product is an invitation to play.
Yes.
I matched her to a 9W. 12O looks good too.
Like she's like 18.
Take me to the Mediterranean, Mario.
I'm just setting it now. Unreleased.
You love an unreleased moment. I mean, Christina was teasing me before, like if I feel
Eyelids,
it
yeah.
applied to my face, can I guess where it's made?
I was like, are you that good? No, she can't do
The
it.
answer is no.
That's a superpower.
For me, eyeshadow was always the area where I would express the most. It was always the most fun. Naturally, I gravitated, and I also did start working for NARS, so you can't work for NARS and not love eyeshadow.
Or color.
Or color.
Do you know what the inspiration behind this is?
No.
Really? There's a very complex inspiration that actually took me like years. This palette is essentially inspired by the evolution of human skin tone. Many thousands and jillion years ago, we all started out this color. And as we migrated north over many centuries and centuries and centuries,
That's amazing.
Mother Nature began to lighten our skin tone to protect us. And so this is what started happening the more that we went up north. We started to get lighter, and so now we have an array of the skin tones. So
Wow. Yeah.
I started the brand with this because of the underlying message. People don't realize sometimes they have to be reminded that we are all literally the same exact thing. We're only different colors because Mother Nature made us that way to protect us.
Right. When you do mix shades and colors within people,
Yes.
it's beautiful to see the synergy.
Yeah, and like you're using
What skin
shades of
tones?
other skin tones to enhance your beauty because that's what humans do, or humanity, we enhance each other. Master Metallics is the sister palette that we also launched the brand with. And Master Metallics, now this is the part, you'll appreciate this, because I was in the lab in Italy and I couldn't share the inspiration. So I would jump up every time they brought shades, run to the corner secretly on my phone, and be like, what is he looking at? Like, what's he doing? So what I was looking at was the inspiration that I had pulled over many months. Master Metallics is, if you look microscopically into the human body, every shade in here is the shades that we see inside of our body. And
Wow.
obviously, we all have the exact same insides. You'll see a beautiful sheen and glimmer to all of the organs inside.
So this is like our soul colors.
This is the inside of our body,
Yeah.
that's the outside of our body.
That's beautiful. I've never heard this before.
I know.
Oh my god.
Look at
Okay,
you,
so-
revealed with Alexis. Revealed with the Lipstick Lesbians.
When you want to do new styles and messaging, it's definitely a challenge. People aren't used to that kind of messaging. They're used to marketing and using the time and the energy to talk about the pigments, talk about the playtime, all the attributes that people are shopping for. But it's important. It's important for people to shop beyond the pigment at this stage, especially with the volume of brands out there. I say this all the time to our beauty queens. Shop with intention, shop with your values. I started at the counter 2006, PD 2012, working at the manufacturer.
So at the counter, what brand did you work for?
NARS.
Oh, so you were doing makeup.
Yep.
Wow. I think when product developers do makeup, it's the perfect combination. When I'm working with a product developer who's not a makeup artist, I think me and the product developer together can create a lot of magic together because I can explain things with my hands and show them, and then they know what I'm talking about.
Yes. It's a different language. It really is a totally different language. Obviously, when you work on people's faces, every single face that you touch, that's a lesson.
Yeah.
That's a lesson of that formula performed differently on that person's skin.
Yeah.
Oh my God, look at the tonality. Look at the holes in the shade selection.
Yes.
Do you remember the first makeup you did?
It was in Sephora. I was working fragrance, and then I guess she was a mentor to me, yeah, because one of my first managers at Sephora, later at night, wasn't very busy. And so she started allowing me, because I told her I wanted makeup, so she started allowing me to trade in my fragrance credits for makeup. So I would pull brushes and cream eyeshadows actually, and I started building this little kit in my little shoebox. It was a Mario stuff, my shoebox, to hide from my parents.
I was gonna say, there's that entire stigma.
Yeah. I asked her one night, because there was a woman in the store shopping at the outlet, and she's like, "Can you do my makeup?" And so I froze, because I'm like, I don't.
Yeah.
So I asked my manager, and she's like, "Okay, there's not a lot of people here." She's like, "Go ahead." So I did it, and I took 3 hours. But she came out so beautiful. I can still see the look today. I got addicted to that feeling of like
The
how
transformation.
she felt. When she looked at her mirror, I felt it in my soul, and I was like, I did that. I made her feel that powerful. And so that was the feeling I've been chasing my whole life. Is just making women feel beautiful.
The feeling, you got to watch their transformation,
Yeah.
and you got to see how their confidence shifted instantly. They energetically actually felt good about themselves.
Oftentimes I'm working and I'm looking in the mirror at them as I'm doing the makeup, so I can see their eyes and I can see literally their posture. Their head will come up and their posture will go back, and they start like doing these little faces. They're just
I'm feeling myself. I'm feeling myself.
I know, that's the best feeling in the world, because it's the feeling of inspiration. Like they're looking at themselves and they're inspired.
It's a superpower. It's important to understand that power that you can hold and how you can help somebody harness it for themselves.
How does it feel to get pampered?
I love it.
I can tell that you know that your makeup done a lot.
Yeah.
I'm going to use the Soft Sculpt Bronzing and Shaping Serum. I'm going to use that around the perimeter here. I'm not going to be putting foundation in that area. I like to sculpt softly in that area.
Oh my God, if I could tell you what was going on in my head that day. Christina was in a really chipper mood. And the reason we went is because I needed to replenish my skin enhancer, but I also secretly was plotting to get the foundation with surreal skin.
Okay.
And that's how this happened.
For those of you who have never met her in person, she has really beautiful skin. really beautiful skin.
Aww.
That's so sweet.
So clear.
All right, Mario, I have to ask you a question. What was the hardest formula for you to develop?
Oh.
As you're holding the foundation, I'm wondering.
They're all challenging. I know what the easiest ones are for me. The easiest ones for me are lip products. And that is thankfully because of my team and because all the girls in the office try them out for us and test them. So they're like our in-house testers. They're more fun and lightweight because you know, it's a lipstick tube.
It's a faster application
yes,
too.
Yes.
It's
Complexion is the one where I stress a lot more. Eyeshadows are the ones I really have fun with. Inspiration, creativity. There's a lot of backstories to the eyeshadows and things like that.
definitely.
Yeah.
They really always talk about how nice it feels to get your makeup done. It feels amazing.
Like
Yeah.
So you got to do it every day.
Definitely soothing.
So what do you think?
I'm not gonna lie, it looks even better when Mario applies it, but I think I learned some of the techniques today. I'm excited.
There's 2 ways that you can use this. Of course, there's the pump, which is the way that I use it mostly, and then there's also the doe foot. And I use the doe foot when I want to use less product, or I want more of a controlled application.
I really do love the versatility of this. It's kind of a staple now in my routine.
Maybe this is another full circle moment because you leaked this product.
Okay, let's talk about this product. I had no idea, but I was just like, okay.
This style of a complexion product, the way that you guys specifically nailed this like gel feeling, that's gonna win me over every time. It looks alive, it's fresh.
You literally got so excited. I think you like kissed the paper.
It's important for our community to see the newness when it comes out. For us, I feel pressure to make sure we're educating on it immediately.
Right, but that's
So-
the thing, right? Because when I'm watching one of your videos, it's like, I know you're not just showing us a box. You're actually going to tell us what is in there, what is the ingredients in there, how does it differentiate from the other products in there.
Totally.
And that stuff is so invaluable, like as a consumer and as a viewer.
Yeah.
Fun fact about Alexis is that she also doesn't watch a lot of beauty content. That's why we didn't know that no one spoke about the launch yet.
Oops.
Yeah. I think that's the way to go sometimes. I mean, obviously you have to look a little bit. I've always been like that my whole career. Like I never paid attention really to what others were doing, or I never looked at others to compete or tried to do better than others. I truly just tried to do better than I did yesterday myself. And that's like a key to my success, I think, is that I focused on my career and not trying to compete with others. I just wanted to do better than I did yesterday. And how do I top myself now? So many people are going to want to be product developers now after watching you guys.
I hope so. There's a space for everyone and every niche of developer.
And to respect one another's art and craft, right?
I think it's really beautiful to be inside your head with you, to understand your perspective is shifting my understanding of in what I thought about the products, because obviously I have my perspective on them. And of course it's through the lens of an artist, but it's my perspective, and it wasn't with the intention that you built them.
It's me easing my way into, educationally and artistically showing girls that wear a lot of makeup that you don't need all that makeup. They're so beautiful.
Right.
You just need these very sheer formulas.
I think we're all reclaiming our skin. I will go home and I will try and recreate this out of my own personal pleasure.
Oh my god,
Like,
that's so fun.
Absolutely.
But I also feel that way when I watch your videos. Like you use products differently than I do. And
Yeah,
I learn a lot because
Oh, cool.
it's really fascinating to me to watch the way people do their makeup. And that classic "What's in your makeup bag?" I love to see what's in my makeup bag. I get so inspired when I see what's in those makeup bags.
It's true.
Also, because I want to help and I want to enhance it a little bit or help it to go quicker, faster, smarter.
Yeah.
She's really good at winking. You should wink at Mario after this. Come on, give him a wink. Do it.
Give me some.
Oh,
That's like a head wink. You used your whole face for that. That was like a sexy wink.
I know!
Recreated. She went
When she does that to me, I'm just like dying.
Banged it on. Did you do your mom's makeup?
did it once, but it was like more of like a joke in the family.
Okay. I feel like that must have been a big moment.
My mom was never allowed to wear any makeup. I mean,
Right.
she grew up in the mountains of Montenegro. She was a sheep herder at 5. Never
Oh my
never
God.
was allowed to go to school.
That sounds like my grandma. Village life.
Yes, makeup was the farthest thing that wasn't
Right.
even a thought in their mind.
Yeah.
Well into her marriage, she wasn't allowed to shave her legs. She wasn't allowed to wear makeup. Nothing like that. What I do remember from childhood is that she would put a little bit of like this lip balmy lipstick on. And then before she left, she would take the tissue, wipe it off
Yeah.
because she felt embarrassed.
She didn't want anyone to see.
Yeah. And then sometimes now she'll say, put blush on me.
Oh.
And so I put like a tiny bit of a blush. She wipes it off too.
Yeah.
Her first job when she came to America, she was a maintenance woman for L'Oreal when I turned 3 years old. And that was my introduction to makeup because she would bring home the product that
That's
I gave her.
insane.
It's weird that she wound up working for a makeup company, the biggest
Not
makeup
just
company,
a makeup company,
the biggest one in the
biggest
world.
makeup company.
And so, yeah, that's why L'Oreal's like always so near and dear to my
Yeah.
heart. It was the first product I ever touched with my hands.
I mean, I'm
secretly.
sure they were a
Yeah.
part of where we are sitting today.
Never wore makeup. I did her full glam once years ago.
Wow.
Like in 2015, and she just did it more as a joke. She wanted to see what my father said.
What did he
so
say?
She looked so beautiful, but he was confused because she walked in being all like Christine, and so he wasn't even looking at her because he was on his phone. So she keeps walking around him, and he's not looking at her.
Waiting for the reaction.
So I'm like that, and then he looks. He's like, "What the hell is this?"
How would you navigate and help people navigate the way that they should be doing their application, right? Why the brush and puff?
Very good question. Brush is going to apply very lightly, very naturally. A puff is going to really press that product in, but also the great thing about a puff, if I had to choose only one, I would probably choose a puff. It's just essential to my artistry. I like to press makeup in. And so this is especially great. Sometimes I first do the initial application of powder with a brush, then I go and I rub it into here, I blend it very well, and I use this throughout the whole application. One, to protect the skin as I'm working, but two, to go into these areas right here, which are the areas I do not like to be greasy or super shiny. My other favorite part about it is that you put this into a bag because it has powder in it already. This will be your all-day touch.
I'm about to tell you something that's going to blow your mind. I have never used individual lashes on my eyes. I know.
Are you kidding me? Well, I've used enough for both of us.
Yeah.
So baby, why don't you talk about makeup being healing and what that means?
I think there's the actual experience of touching your own self every single day if you're going to be putting on your makeup or your product every day. That's the beginning for me of the intimacy with yourself. It makes me feel safe, but it also makes me feel just playful. And I think in many ways, for me, it is reclaiming my childhood. And that's why I will play with as much color as I can get my hands on at times.
Were you not able to as a child?
Not that I wasn't able to necessarily, but I was forced to grow up very quickly in my mindset, my mentality, which is some of the things that I went through. When I discovered this tool, it was an expressive outlet. It's art. I consider every stroke to be self-soothing, as you can kind of regulate your nervous system, blending the brush out and just centering yourself, really. So the healing is both the color, the watching it come together, taking a risk, trusting yourself. Who puts crazy fuchsia lip on and cheek and then like, let me blend a little in my eye? Like, it's being bold and daring and brave.
How old were you when you started to do a full-on or experiment makeup and then
Yeah.
you started to do full-on makeup?
I was like 12 when I started to play, and then full on like 14. So the real irony and the real funny part is a small departure from healing, but maybe it is healing in its own way. So when I was 13, I used to go clubbing in Greece. and it was legal, so
Wait,
no one come for
were you
me.
living there?
No,
Oh,
I
on
would go in the
vacation.
summer, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd go with my siblings
Where our
because they
parents
were
thought it
all
was safe because
correct.
it was Greek. Yeah.
Correct. So I would want to impress the Greek men with my winged eyeliner.
Men?
Yes.
Or
Well, no, it was men at the time. So
Like-
I was attracted to men, and I dated men until Christina's the first woman I ever dated.
what?
Yeah. She has a crazy coming out story
Plot
too we haven't
twist.
spoken about, yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, so you never knew?
No, imagine doing makeup on women, hundreds of women, and never ever having a single inkling of an attraction, but a respect for the beauty of it, right? And of course, there has to be something there intuitively with just playing with the femininity and the masculinity, like we were talking about
Yeah.
too. But for me, I was always inherently a little masculine because I was a huge
Well,
tomboy.
see, this is what I felt.
Mhm.
I thought that maybe I did it for the opposite reason, but for
Yeah.
you, I would assume that because you were a little more masculine, that you wanted to hide that maybe from the Greek community or your
Yeah.
parents, and so makeup was the way that you did that. You were able to become more feminine on the outside to appease
Yeah.
them and to protect yourself.
Well, it's interesting because for me it became more rebellious in the context of I got to control that aspect of who I was. And the rebellion was the reclamation of myself and not doing anything anyone told me to do. Because the lipstick may have been too bold, or the eye makeup may have been too much. Because it was always you're too much.
Yes.
You're too loud, cross your legs,
We
don't rest
suppressed,
the
we
hand.
suppressed ourselves.
It was all about suppressing like the just essence of Alexis and always making myself smaller around everybody.
That's what I did my whole entire life,
Mhm.
literally up until recently. You said something really profound about the control aspect of it.
Mhm.
I experienced the same thing when I first started doing makeup, and I hid my makeup in that box, and my family
Yeah,
discovered
yeah.
it, and they confronted me and they demanded that I stop doing makeup. I took
And did
that
they
box.
think you were using it on yourself, or did they think they were using
I
you were
think
using
that
it
they
on others?
just thought something like that.
Right.
Either I assumed that they thought, wait, is he a drag queen? Maybe?
Right,
But
right.
I don't think that they thought I would have done it because I was 17. I think that they just thought, wait, he working at Sephora? Is he doing makeup now?
Right.
Because that was my mom's biggest nightmare for me. When they told me, you cannot do this anymore, you have to quit that job, I
Interesting.
grabbed that box and I ran away from home.
Wow.
It was the first and only time I ever ran away or stood up for myself, because that makeup box was the one thing in my life that I could actually control. I could hold on to it.
Mhm.
I could take it with me, and I could
Mhm.
run away, and I could live my dream and express myself and strengthen
Yeah.
my skills and my passion. But if it was something else that, it's that thing that you said about the control, it was something that I was able to control
It is.
completely.
Mhm.
And then, when my family wanted to take that away from me, that was the one thing.
Well,
that
it's
I
the
said,
boundary, right?
Absolutely not.
You
Yeah.
drew that line really clearly for them. And now, of course, what they're gonna do, sorry, I got a little emotional. But I think it's really deep and profound for anyone that's watching when it comes to, speaking of Christina being and healing, and Christina being the first woman I went on a date with, when I was trying to date men, I conditioned myself to the male gaze. I conditioned the aesthetic to what the male gaze wanted. And then fast forward to 2014, I'm going on a date with a woman for the first time. First ever woman date, first ever anything. And I'm literally sitting in front of the mirror and I'm just like, who am I supposed to be today? Like, and that's the yourself moment, but it's also the stereotype and the stigma of identity of what lesbian means suddenly.
Yes.
So now in a different rebellion, I'm gonna not wear lipstick, right? But of course I thought this was, and it was my choice and I was in control and I didn't wear lipstick because I
But
thought
this
that.
is what I just said, because
Right.
now you stopped wearing it because
Right.
now you were coming into yourself. But the reason why you started wearing it was because, again, to hide yourself, right?
Yes.
In that sense. And this is more of a sort of trauma
yes.
thing of being gay. And in your case, you didn't even know. But
Yeah.
maybe you did.
But maybe I
unconsciously.
did,
Maybe
yeah.
you did unconsciously.
We all go through so much trauma that we may not even realize until we grow up. The questioning and having to question your identity because suddenly you're going to go out on a date with a woman, and makeup and having the superpower of manipulating how you look with makeup is almost dangerous in a sense because you can do anything. That, for me, the healing aspect is the license to self-explore and be like unrelentingly curious. And what ended up ultimately happening though was look at where I am today. I'm right back at that, but it's playful and it's on my terms and it's for education and it's for people to find themselves.
Yes.
And right, people can use your art and your brand as a vehicle to find, a piece of who they are because they may resonate with you and everything you say. And then, and then they should evolve and take pieces of Mario with every application of skin enhancer or the bronzing serum, and they should take those pieces of you and they should just morph them into their own identities, that ones that make sense for them.
Yes, absolutely. That makes 100% sense. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. For me, it was a little bit similar, right? But also opposite in that you're a girl, so that you couldn't wear makeup. I chose this career that was literally the last thing. If there was a list or a book of like options, it would be the last thing that my family wanted. And so I lived with this intense amount of shame
Because you were also
and fear, but I also refused to stop doing it for them, because that was the one thing I always listened. I always sacrificed myself, suppressed myself. But that was the one thing. Makeup was that one thing that I could control, and makeup was that one thing that I had, for the first time in my life, it brought me this indescribable like amount of inspiration, and like I found my purpose after searching for my whole life. I found my purpose, which was makeup, and really which was teaching makeup and now creating makeup. But it was that one thing that I hid so desperately and that I was so ashamed of, was that one thing that became my entire life.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Guys,
It really is.
Jesus Christ!
I think it's an important message for,
It's
for
so important.
young people out there to hear, because
Yeah.
they're going to resonate and relate to that. A lot of people go through this. A lot of parents don't want their children doing makeup. They want them to be this or that or this, but then they never wind up being happy. And I have hundreds, if not thousands, of students in the master class that got the courage after the master class and after hearing my story to transition their career from architect, from lawyer, from doctor, from everything imaginable, because they were miserable and their heart wanted to do makeup, to be an artist. And it gives people that strength to really change their life and to enhance their life, because if you're doing something where you're successful but you're miserable, that's not life.
No,
You know? And so makeup is a beautiful thing overall. It brings so much joy.
Do you think that the connection that your family made inherently was makeup equals gay?
Oh, absolutely.
So that was just also in connection to the educating piece. It has to go back to, let this be the springboard for people to start their self-discovery. My story, your products, the energy you put into them that you shared with me, that you've shared with me before, the philosophy and the embodiment really of what it stands for, which at this point is just like exactly what we're talking about here. It's so much bigger than just this experience, but it is a ritual.
Yeah, it's a ritual, and it could be also self-care. It gives you that feeling of, confidence, right? And that's such an important feeling to have when you step out into the world. Anything that makes you feel confident, like truly confident, is a beautiful thing.
How have they received you now that they see you globally successful?
So
they must be such a...
They hid it for years. They were embarrassed.
So the community,
They'd say, what is Mario doing? And oh, he works in a store. I think he works at a clothing store in the city, like this kind of thing. For years, they hid it.
Meanwhile, you're globally celebrity makeup artist.
I was in retail at that time,
Yeah.
and so I was hiding it so much. But that I saw my mother do that myself, and it broke my heart, because I was like, wow, she's ashamed of me. And
no, it's hard.
I remember like hearing her on the phone telling people these things, and that gave me a fuel. So I don't regret, and I'm so grateful for all of that, because they're obviously so proud of me now. That gave me a fuel and a fire, because I remember specifically at that time when I heard her say that on the phone, I said, I'm gonna make sure that the whole world knows I'm a makeup artist because of that. And I did.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's called reclaiming your power. Now I'm gonna ruin his beautiful makeup. I'm trying to do damage control. You're like, because really it's therapy, it's not makeup.
Now, I want to ask you also something else, because you said you started at 12.
Yes.
What is your opinion on that, about the 12-year-olds or young girls in general using makeup?
It saved me. I can't say, please do not do the things that your parents don't want you to do, but also don't forget who you are.
Yeah.
And if they don't want you to do it, then just don't do it in public. And if they have a problem with the products you're using, then do your best to just go in and swatch hygienically if you can in stores that you have access to. No one should control your self-expression and your art. And for me at 12, that was all I had. It brought me back to play. The truth is that I had to grow up again, circumstances, trauma, certain things that happened to me, and I now understand that. But no one's gonna take this away from me. And if I didn't have this when I was 12, my God, I wouldn't have had anything to creatively release.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. And it could be that for you if you know how to use it and you know how to latch on. And all you need is one person to inspire you, one product to inspire you.
Yeah.
And then it starts.
The reason I asked you that is because years ago, the New Yorker did a piece on me. right? And that was pretty like a big deal because I was the only person in history to be covered by the New Yorker in a piece, and they followed me for 1 year.
That's incredible.
So they came to the master classes, and I remember the part that scared me the most, the question that scared me the most is that she said to me after coming to my master class in Chicago, sitting next to a 12-year-old, her mother was there as well. How do you feel about a 12-year-old learning all of these makeup techniques? And so of course I panicked because in my mind I said, wait, is this what the angle is going to be? And and so
like brainwashing the 12-year-old.
Yeah, so I literally just spoke from my stomach, from my gut, and I said, I think it's kind of beautiful that a 12-year-old girl is sitting here writing on pen and paper and being inspired by art and by beauty and by me, rather than out there on the streets and doing, bad things and being with bad people. Like she's with her mom, and I think that's quite beautiful. And then she just kind of she was like, oh, and she kind
That's
of loved the answer. But
it is a beautiful
that's why I'm always curious to know what other people's thoughts are on it, because I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a bad thing if they're doing it because they're insecure.
Yes, it's the intention, always. How do you stifle their creativity? And I believe that starting younger and younger now.
Probably the less they're going to wear when they get older because they've gotten out of their system, right? And it's not like one of those things where if you take something away from a child, they're going to want to do it more when they get older, right? And so that's kind of what happened with me, thankfully, because it worked out for me. But I remember I was so fascinated or curious about the makeup that I would see my mom bringing home, right? And I remember I was a child, I'm talking like 6 or 7.
Well, what are all these things? It's like toys, but better.
I knew what they were, but I knew that I was forbidden for even being interested. I was ashamed to be interested, so I locked myself in the bathroom one day.
So interesting.
And I opened up the cabinet, and there was a L'Oreal duo eyeshadow, blue and a beige. It was those like duo shadows with the clear top, and I was so curious to open the book up. And so I opened it up, and I remember I swatched it, and with my finger, it was my first swatch of my life.
Wow.
And I went like this to the blue, and I swatched it like this, and I remember panicking because how am I going to clean this off? So I started rubbing it onto a piece of soap, a bar of soap, because I was afraid my parents would see it in my fingerprints. And I also did my first technique at that time. I took the lighter beige shade, it was like this one, and I went over the blue to lighten the blue because I knew unconsciously that it would lighten it.
I mean, I showcase defiance in every aspect of my life, including, ultimately in my parents' eyes, including marrying a woman, right?
Yes.
Also,
which was not fun being Greek Orthodox for both of us.
We went through about 8 years of nonsense. Family,
culturally.
we would go out to the lesbian bars in New York City, and people would tell us we don't look like lesbians.
Oh yeah, the internalized
that we're straight
homophobia.
presenting, so it's not fair. And now the poetic justice is that we're the Lipstick Lesbians on a public platform. It's really interesting. Specifically, though, just going back to even thinking about, I guess, identity and where everyone stands, and also just like your defiance that we were talking about. To me, that fire, that defiance, like there's a purpose in it. It drove you, it pushed you, your mom working at L'Oreal. Like I don't believe in these coincidences.
Oh, I don't regret it. I'm so grateful for all of it. That's the way you have to live your life. You have to be grateful even for the hardest, the pain, the struggles, because it makes you who you are, it makes you stronger. The most important thing is healing it, right? Healing it in your adult life and recognizing it. And that's also a really difficult process, and one that I've been working my whole life on.
It's really through this type of pain that we cultivate empathy and compassion. You can't help heal people if you haven't healed yourself. I'm glad that you found the strength to be that defiant, that's for sure.
If you can imagine the millions of kids who come from cultures like ours who don't have the courage, don't have the courage to do it, and their lives are wasted. There's millions of young people that never get to come out of the closet, that literally are suppressed their whole lives. Because our parents sometimes too, and from other cultures, they can suppress your dreams.
Yes.
You could be a talent like no other, but they don't believe in that.
No.
And so to them, it's, nope, you're not doing that. And it's like that could be a pro soccer player, that could be a professional singer, an artist, like myself. Had I listened to my parents, I would not be here today.
Yeah. Same for you, Alexis.
Oh my God. I will say one of the most shocking things that has happened in the last 6 months is the shift, specifically because when you're talking about the masculine and feminine, it's mother, father, right? Maternal, paternal. My relationship with my father was probably the worst out of everyone in my family. More recently, he has shown me more love and respect than he showed me my entire life, because it's as if people have explained to him how hard it is to do what we've done. I think he finally sees pieces of himself, like in me.
And you will probably see pieces of yourself. I cannot believe we're going through the same exactly the same time. I literally have just done the most intense, like massive healing with my father.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's been.
But it's life changing.
Yeah, it is. I know.
Everything. I see him and me now.
Yeah.
And as the older I get,
And I can respect him, and I can love him too, and forgive him.
You forgive them because they didn't know any better.
Yeah.
They knew
that's it.
they did as best as they could.
You know what it is? It's so important to have role models like the two of you.
Yes.
I mean, me too included, but
Yes, Mo.
no, but you guys really like the face of it. Like that's
Yeah.
what gives those children the hope.
So interesting. You get to feel someone's whole entire vibe based on like what they do. It's like a different way of meeting somebody, meeting their art.
So I'm noticing one thing about you. You eat makeup like no other.
Mhm.
So I put something on her, and I'm like, oh wait, where did
That's
that
so
go?
funny. I
Yeah.
say that about Christina all the time.
You see, it's not just me.
We did it. Content for days.
Really soft.
I did the millennial Zoom.
You had to do the millennial Zoom. We talked about it the whole time. Kudos to you, Mario, for doing makeup while we're doing these deep, meaningful conversations.
I typically don't say a word when I work
Yeah.
because I need to
You
be so
focus.
focused.
I'm sorry.
Stay tuned for more, guys.